I have a question. I think I really never quite know what to ask. Um, but yeah, let's just see what comes out of this. So I keep coming, it feels like, to like total exasperation, like moments of like complete like, you know, like okay, I'm done with seeking. I can't take this anymore. Um, Life is too much. And then I realize that's seeking as well, but you know, in my personal case, it seems like the seeking patterns, or when I act them out or I believe them, can be very painful
Mm.
for on the human level. Um, so really what I'm trying to understand is, which is also seeking, is how to bring enough clarity to the situation or my life or that specific aspect of my life,
Mm.
not to make things so hard on myself. Because I do bring, often when I talk to you, I bring like the hardest parts of my life
Yeah.
as a presentation piece. But that's not always how it is. But it is like the parts that I want to transform the most,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, totally.
I can talk about the happy aspects, but it's, those, maybe those aren't super important all the time. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, so I don't know if anything comes from that.
Yeah, 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 totally. Where are you at the moment? You in Europe or America?
No, I'm still in the States. I'm thinking about going down to Mexico maybe to chill with Matt for a while. He's in
Oh,
Mexico
nice.
right now.
Yeah.
Um,
It's all open?
not, I think Mexico's all right. It's
Oh,
not too
yeah, yeah,
bad.
Mexico's open. Yeah, I know a lot of people that normally go to India are going to Mexico this year.
Yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to the news, so I don't really know what the situation is. But I think it's okay to go to Mexico, as far as I know. It's like a $50 flight or something. So,
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I can understand there is periods of just wanting to give up, but this is all in the personality structure. So, to consciousness doesn't care if you wake up or not, but not in like the way that a dad doesn't care, or mum doesn't care, or a friend doesn't care. It just doesn't have the ability to care. All consciousness or the beingness does is this watching, is experiencing. It's just experiencing. And it's totally empty of any feeling, of any emotion, of any motivation. All of that comes and goes in it. It's absent of all of that. And that's your birthright. Like when you wake up in the morning, it's there prior to you realizing it. It's even there in deep sleep, but in deep sleep, there's no forms to be conscious of. So it just disappears, like time just is gone. But when you wake up in the morning, like the consciousness switches on, and then it doesn't even switch on because it's already there, but the consciousness is there, and then the person says, and then the person slowly comes in and recognizes itself, and it's like, oh, yes, I'm asleep in bed, and it starts narrating its life.
Yeah, and I can feel how that's like creating time,
Creating time,
which is
creating
like
place.
suffering.
Like, do you often when I'm in the morning waking up, like my mind likes to think, like, where am I? Likes to
Yeah.
remember where it is.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah, I
sometimes.
mean, sometimes I'm aware before I wake up,
Mm,
and I can see like all the memories and
come here, yeah.
the sense of being like coming in. I'm like,
Mm.
oh no. But that's
Yeah,
I'm
and
about that too. Who knows?
sometimes like the first feeling is dread of the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Maybe that's a
con
yeah.
Yeah, consciousness is totally free all the time, so it doesn't care if you wake up or not, or if it's recognized or not, because it is already free. It's here, it's watching everything, and it has no desire.
Yeah, it's very freeing.
Mm. It's just watching. And it's there and accessible all the time because it's you. It's that which is watching the person which is in anxiety or not in anxiety or wanting to give up or not giving up. It's always there. What happens though is that the person goes into seeking and then there is a focus in on that pain of seeking. So it's like the seeking, you could say, takes up all the screen, or the seeking becomes focused on. And the seeking involves like this identification that that is who I am. And the seeking is this storyteller that's always trying to get somewhere and be something. I want to be something.
Yeah,
And then
because maybe,
yeah, carry on.
yeah, maybe because there's a thought of like freedom in there.
Mm.
It's like, I mean, yeah.
Well, there's
Oftentimes it,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, there's discomfort, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
and then and then that's like it's like a train that takes over. So maybe you wake up in the morning and the narration starts that the reason that you're unhappy is because of what happened with this person, and then you like if you're more into spirituality, maybe you then trace it back to the beginning of that feeling and where it came from and your parents. But most people that aren't into this subject, they're just totally in that train.
yeah.
They wake
That can
up and
still happen.
yeah, that's blame and it's this person and the mind is off. And that's a habit. You could say this is karma. Like that's the karma of
Yeah,
that body mind mechanism. And waking up is the disidentification with that, that is not the experiencer. The experiencer is what's watching that. It's this break that happens. That is not the experiencer. That person is not the experiencer. That person, though, is always believing in itself and always believing that my happiness is going to come when I sort out these friends and I do this and I do that. And that's not true.
yeah. I can see how maybe even the mind is trying to deny your words, and at the same time, I recognize that's true.
Mm. And then is there
Yeah,
another part that can kind of, like, that's kind of being called that's beyond that?
yeah,
This watching, this stillness.
yeah. So what the mind wants to go was holding on to just now, um, was like what seems to is when the pain body comes up, like, and in the last few days, and it dissipated when I was listening to you in the beginning of the talk, was like this, like visceral, like hatred.
For, your,
That was just,
for
so
yourself or for others?
I was both like, um, and probably also towards like specific, uh, and people, and it was like the freedom is in getting out of that, but the contraction is at that point so great that,
Mm.
um, even though there's a sense of stillness momentarily every now and again, then it's like, that will basically takes over. It's like, and I don't act it out. I don't yell at anyone. I don't,
Mm.
sometimes I do exercises or something to get it out. But it dissipated when I was listening to you, and I was like, how can I bring that like stillness or clarity, or like it just wasn't true anymore. It just wasn't
Mm.
there anymore, seemingly.
Mm.
Um,
And what
you
I
know,
would,
to my life. Yeah.
yeah, what I would suggest happens is when you were listening, like there's something that was like coming more present, like more forward, like so often
Yeah.
the consciousness and the person are sort of all tied in together. And then when I'm speaking about non-duality, that consciousness is like you could say detaching or releasing from that person. Because hatred to me tends to always be seeking. So you can have anger that's not seeking, but hatred tends to always be seeking. Like I would say that that's definitely something that's gone here. I get anger towards people. Like anger is action, and sometimes my anger isn't fair. Like I reflect on it and I contemplate it and it changes, but hatred is definitely seeking.
Yeah, it's like my freedom is being impeded.
Mm.
Um, and
And it's
that's what, and
their
then what,
fault or my fault.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that's what will sort of drive it.
Mm. Yeah, it's really great to name it as hatred. Roger used to always make me name hatred when hatred was present. And does this hatred have a wanting to hurt self or other?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Um, um, I mean, it's just the pain body, really.
Mm.
It's just like a condensed, like,
Mm.
you know, version of all the grievances,
Mm.
and then that hatred is just a seems to be just you know, a mode of expression of
Mm.
sort of everything that's been bundled up. Then,
That's so great
um,
that you recognize this, because somebody that doesn't recognize this and goes unconsciously through life, it will act out in all types of unconscious ways, because most of the time people can't really admit that they're hating or that they're in hatred. Like so it just comes out in lots of different ways. So it's really great that it's recognized, that it's named, and that you're seeing it for what it is.
yeah,
And it's and recognizing those grievances. And there's two different things that can happen. There is in the personality structure, recognizing and understanding where they're coming from, giving it space, accepting them. And this is all in the personality structure, and this is healing the personality structure. And then there is the recognition that that isn't you, that isn't the watcher, that that is being watched. That even in that hatred, there is something that is totally free. So there's something that's totally expanded and totally freed. And then in that, there is this vessel that has hatred. And it can come, like, if you're not recognizing it, it'll come out in all types of ways. Like in the most extreme, it would come out as murder, like a murder. But it can come out as like trying to hurt, trying to put the other person down, trying to be better than the other person, trying to beat the other person. um
it can. That
this
I mean, it might be weird, but it can come out as like avoiding as well.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well then I'm just gonna, like the victim goes like, yeah, all right, I'm just gonna give up and
Mm.
um um yeah, yeah,
And what's most
and that will
probably,
upset. Yeah.
yeah, what most probably is below that is fear. Like fear, yeah, fear of abandonment and fear of death.
Yeah.
But you don't have to jump to those. Like they're the deeper feelings. But like spending time in
Yeah.
that hatred and letting that out of the body.
Well, it is what I feel initially, like fear and fear of abandonment, and then, you know, that turns into these other things. But the thing I'm trying not to do is like this snowball effect where it gets sort of like so out of control that I'm just going through a few days where I'm like, you know, about to blow up, but like,
Mm.
not taking it out on anyone or doing anything, but
Mm.
I can go for a jog or work out
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
totally. Yeah, they're
Do
great things to
Osho.
do. Mm.
Um, but I've been kind of neglecting that, so maybe it's built up because of that. I don't
Mm.
know, um, but it seems to, when you were speaking, it just seemed to sort of dissipate. It was like, oh, it wasn't
Mm.
even really there. Was it
Yeah,
really there?
totally. Yeah, so what happened in that is that there was detachment from the person, and then there was like the consciousness was coming more and more present, and then it just evaporates. And that's not necessarily always the case, but that tends to be what happens.
Yeah,
So it becomes irrelevant, or it goes very much into the background.
yeah, and can that be avoiding, or is that
Mm. No, the way you
it's just
described
all
it
right?
today, it sounded like there wasn't avoidance, there was just like a resonance. And so something expanded in you. Avoiding to me would be more like really putting effort into trying to get rid of it, which won't work. So, yeah, all types of ways. Unconscious ways could be playing computer games, but it's like when you do the Osho practices and when you do all these exercises, it's like, yeah, you want to dissipate that energy, but it's also like doing that energy to really to doing those things to really embrace it, like, as you do the exercise, it's like really embracing it, really letting that anger like fuel it,
Yeah,
like really allowing it to be there when you do Osho exercises. So yes, there's the idea, okay, I want to release this, but it's more from that place of being in it, whereas something like playing computer games is like total trying to get out of it. But if it turns into trauma, then I would
right.
actually I'd recommend doing something like playing computer games or watching TV, like, because you can also get to this place where you get stuck in it, and then you need to do something to try and move yourself out of it. And that's something that you have to really become conscious of yourself when you're getting stuck in it. And some people can have like an OCD where they get stuck in a loop of it. So then
Yeah,
doing something else will break it.
yeah. I mean, I spend a lot of time distracting myself now. Um,
Mm.
I think I'm trying to get away from feelings, but yeah, if I could just go beyond them, then
Mm.
there's no trouble with it then.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
seems to be possible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, totally. Mm. Nice. Oh, thanks for calling in, Brian.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you,
lovely
Lisa.
to speak with
I
you, and good
appreciate
luck
it.
going to Mexico. That's a
Thank
nice
you.
thing to do as it gets colder in the
Yeah,
Western Hemisphere.
yeah. I'm not sure if I'll go yet, but we'll see. Yeah. All right. Thank you,
Right.
Lisa. Have a good night.
Yeah,
I
you too.
appreciate it. Thank you so
Bye.
much.